And we have a presentation to make our first part of our meeting, and calling this meeting to order. Why don't we, in sake of business and time for our folks here at CNS Engineers, they want to give us a presentation, so we'll have those people do that first and get you on the road.
Chairman, I would request that do this in open of any items that are of a security or property. Hopefully point that out, and then only then would it be necessary.
Okay, so let's do that.
Fine. All right. Here. Here. I just saw him this afternoon. He started marching. Oh, you're all right.
You okay?
No, I think so. I don't want to step on your fence.
Oh my God, no.
Good afternoon. My name's Doug Bauer. I've been your facility engineer at the Ogdensburg Airport for about a year now, following in Jim Morrissey's footsteps. So you may know Jim, or remember Jim. Jim still provides guidance and advice on an as-needed basis, and he's still there. He works in our transportation group now. So I'm happy to be here, and this is Kelly Walters. She's our grants administrator, and tell a little bit about what you do, Kelly. Okay. The intent of this quick presentation is just to go over the 5-year capital improvement program and the projects that are on it, just so the board has a better understanding of what projects are about. They mean stop me at any time if you have any questions regarding these projects. I'm just going to go down the list from the top to the bottom, and stop me anytime if you have any questions. The first project on the list is an obstruction analysis for runway 9. Runway 9 is the approach off of Beat 12, and there's a few obstructions that are within the cemetery. And the intent of this is to refly the approaches to determine what those obstructions are. And this GIS is the FAA has new survey requirements, so this will address those GIS requirements, which are a lot stricter standards, a lot higher accuracy, and that it also includes us updating this data into the FAA GIS database. So this first project would cover that issue.
Doug, let me interrupt you if I may. GIS stands for Geographic Information System. Okay, and the other clarification on this is strictly for the analysis. This is not.
That's correct.
Okay, often we get hung up on different terminology that's used.
That's correct. This is for the analysis of the obstructions, and also it ties into the next project on the list, which is the master plan. As part of the master plan, we also have to do a GIS survey of the entire airport to get all those features such as edge of pavements, lights, navigational aids, get the information regarding those so that we can then update them into the database. So there's a comprehensive existing airport layout within the FAA database.
Currently, analysis program going on. These
Yes, this is just for the GIS portion because it's a higher level of accuracy for the surveys, and it requires a little more. It's a little more finicky, and then we have to take all that data and convert it to GIS format and upload it to the database.
Did you see this as a whole new brand? It's like a Thank you.
The question I have is if we just had a private airport here, would the rules be the same just for private airport versus, obviously we have commercial airlines also? Would that make any difference?
If you're receiving FAA funding, you have to follow their guidelines.
And that's because we're commercial.
Not just commercial, but because you're accepting FAA money. There's airports.
I'm just saying the rule is different if it was just a private. Just for my own.
I believe so. Yeah.
Part of the 139 requirements, right? Part 130.
Yes.
So because we're defined as a Part 139 airport, we have to comply with these regulations that are associated,
Which is the air carrier.
Right. That keeps us in compliance and we move. Okay. Amen. Thank you.
Any other questions on that project? No. The next project is really very important, in my opinion, to the airport, and that's a new airport master plan. Your current master plan is about 15 or 16 years old, and this master plan will really develop a vision for the future. It'll provide it'll repopulate this list of projects. It'll give you it'll give us a lot of good information on how the best use of the airport is and how to move forward with those projects. So this is an important project for the airport. Any questions on that? And this will there's many things that will follow with this, which will be coming up here, I'm sure, to discuss as the
I guess I would just one comment to add here. One of the things that we've heard as a board over the years is make sure that you keep your projects populated in your outlying years. The airport master plan will provide us the ability to do that. Where some of the items on here, I don't want to say are placeholders because that's not, in truth, that's not the case. But there will be some different projects that come about as this airport master plan continues. And specifically, the time frame on that takes about a 2-year process. Correct. But the things populated in the list should show up in about 6 months. I'm trying to remember the conversation.
As the plan is going on in these, I don't want to say 6 months, but we'll be able to come up with additional projects before the completion of the master plan.
Gotcha. So I guess my point is what you're seeing in the outlying years may not be same thing when you look at this document a year from now.
100% correct.
It's vastly different.
Or robust is the word here. Questions or comments? No. Okay, the next...
There's something we should ask. How's that one? I always thought that one. Is there something that we should find out, even though we're not asking the question, that's significant to you that we should know?
I don't believe at this point with this project, there's no grant in place. We haven't done anything preliminarily. As the project comes forward, we'll be up here communicating with you in regards to that project. Anything on that, Kelly? No.
I want to wait.
That's good to know.
In this.
All right, moving forward, the next project on our CIP is the runway rehabilitation project, the design of that project. That's your main and only runway. The last time that runway was really rehabilitated was in 1996, so it's had 15 years of life. We did do a crack repair project 5 years ago, which kind of gave it a little more life, just crack sealing and pavement repairs. And this, though, will actually mill the surface off, get rid of a lot of those surface cracks, and overlay the runway to give you another conceivably 15 years of life, similar to the last
How
project.
thick would you have to hear it to?
I haven't gotten into the design yet, but it'll probably be about a 3-inch overlay, give or take. We have to go through a design and make sure that we have, sufficient structure there and make sure that it has enough strength. But that would probably be about right, is about a 3-inch overlay. Probably mill about 1 inch off just to take off that top oxidized damaged layer to remove all those little surface cracks, and then go over the top with a 3-inch overlay. So you'll be gaining 2 inches, but you'll also be getting rid of 1 inch of the most distressed, damaged pavement.
Would that increase our ability to have a heavier aircraft land there?
I'd have to do the math, but it should give you the capacity to land a little larger aircraft.
I'd like to know what that would be.
I can do that for sure. We know.
What I'm saying is, if it had another 1 more inch, and I'm not saying what plane with the capabilities, but I mean, some airline in 2 or 3 years would come here and you say, why did we add another inch, or to that?
Actually, John asked me to perform a calculation for him, John Risch, and I got the number and I provided it to Steve. It's called a pavement classification number, and it takes your pavement structure and age and all the thicknesses of the layers, and it gives you a number. In Ogdensburg, the number is 30. And every aircraft has an aircraft classification number that would correspond to that. So, if the aircraft classification number is 30, you can land that aircraft here unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
Strength-wise, not length-wise.
Well, I think that...
And when we figure out what your overlay thickness will be, we'll recalculate that number and provide it to you. But I can do it ahead of time and give you a rough idea of that. Sure. And that's just the design of this project. The construction would be in the following year, which we'll get to. The next project, any other questions on the runway rehabilitation design? No. The next item on the list is security improvements, cameras and monitoring.
Hang on a second. I go through all questions.
Sure, no problem.
If I have a rehab construction thing, are we maxed out weight as far as how long that runway can be?
The short answer is yes. Future is somewhat limited because you're pinned in by Route 812 on one side, Route 68 on the other, and we looked at, again, this is dated a couple of years now, but it was, well, as a matter of fact, seeing us put the numbers together at our request, it was about $8 million, $8 to $12 million, and 5 years time frame to get roads moved and things reconfigured for a longer runway. And that was for an aircraft the size of an MD-8, which required a 7,000 foot run, something like that, 7,200.
Sounds right.
And we have a 5,200. So it would be a major undertaking, major expense.
Well, I'm saying is, right now, I mean, could we add 300 feet? I'm just throwing some figure out. Are we, Steve, are we done with?
Yeah, the road here, which really limits your,
Okay,
and
I mean-
this side we.
Okay, so I didn't realize how close the road was over here. Okay, well, I'm just saying if there, I'm just throwing things in my mind if I have
Yeah,
200 feet or 300 feet, I'm not saying what capabilities we have. If I'm doing all this work, why would,
And just so you know too, that, it's not just the constraint of the road, but you have safety area beyond the road that would necessitate moving this road, either cul-de-sacing it or moving this road way out and around, which to do it and meet DOT standards, you would tie in, you would come off here, you would come off of here and you would have to tie in way down this road, so your curve, your curves and everything were to DOT criteria.
oh, that's yeah.
Yeah, it's,
It was interesting because I just landed in Phoenix and I landed on a highway. I don't mean a highway, but it's an overpass over an overpass. And I'm saying, well, isn't that interesting? I just landed on top of another road underneath me. And I'm talking about, 757.
yeah, monster.
Yeah, so it's structurally possible.
Yeah, and
We're not going to have those planes coming in, I know that.
And you would have to go through the analysis too, but adding just a couple hundred feet probably wouldn't gain you much.
No, that was my thought too.
And you have to go through a whole justification process with the FAA to even look at a runway extension.
And that's the interesting point right there, because that's the chicken and the egg. If you have the longer runway, you'll get the business, but you won't get the business without the longer runway. And the same goes for the commitment to get the runway. So that's interesting dynamic there.
Yeah. They really needed this as an airport for that type of reason, I guess.
And was willing to sign on the dotted line. X number of aircraft would come here. They'd be Y. They need runway Z to make that happen.
I know we had this just so many times, but I just want to get a question for here. Okay,
Very good question.
Thank you.
Next here we have a security improvements project that's a state-funded project. Currently, Kelly can tell you more about the status of that state-funded project, and there's two more on there as well that we'll get to. But Kelly can just give you an idea of what we're looking at with these projects.
That's an excellent point. As we're talking about these projects, the majority of these projects are the 95% FAA, 2.5% DOT, 2.5% OBPA, with a couple of exceptions, as you pointed. I would just, well, again, you know me, I'll be an advocate as we go through here. The security improvements are great. We need them. I don't disagree with that. We have leeway. We also need to focus on things that bring us a return at the airport and stimulate economic development as well. We've had that conversation.
Okay, and that project is pretty self-explanatory. It's just extra security infrastructure in and around the airport. But that's also dependent on the status of the Bond Act, and we have to apply for it should it come through and have those applications. Going on to 2012, any questions for the 2011 projects?
Just one other question, and I apologize. I don't mean to keep interrupt. The funding mechanism through this through FAA, there are some unique hoops and challenges that have been put into place in the past couple of years where I forget the exact number, but 50% of the funding needs to be first couple of months. Are there any of those oddball requirements coming up this time around?
Yep, just illustrate.
I'm glad I asked that question because preliminary engineering is not done. They're not submitting the projects. Does that put us in the first position, the second round, as opposed to how we've traditionally done it? We've traditionally got all our first that early window because once the money's gone, it's gone. Okay. Good news. Thank you.
Yeah, that's correct. That was a 2010 grant, so it didn't apply to really the 5-year plan here, but that was the rehabilitation of all your taxiways, all your parallel taxiway, and then your taxiway. That was bid last year. It'll be constructed as soon as the weather breaks this spring. Yep, everything's in line. The contractor actually is going to start submitting their, their shop drawings, that stuff here. So everything's. Yep. And also to piggyback on what Steve said, we had the security grant, and we have leftover monies that the state has approved for us to use for the construction of a perimeter to maintain the fencing and wildlife patrols and whatever patrols you may need to do around the airport. So we have some money that we're going to use to get that started. We won't be able to do an entire perimeter, but it'll be a good start, good use of that money, and that's 100% funded by the state with no work there. So. All right, going on to 2012, we have a very old out vehicle. We spoke with the ADO in the fall. They agreed that was a good item to get on the CIP here to get you a new vehicle to comply with all your Part 139 requirements for that. I believe your vehicle is written up on a few different. That sounds about right. So that'll have a 22-year life by the time it gets tired. So.
Just when that vehicle is, when we get to 2012 and hopefully we get new vehicles, how you get the H or
Would it be smart to backup view?
Yeah. Possibly specify the same model, or not model, but brand, and maybe you can use that for some whatever parts going for it or something. Get some value. You should be able to get some value out of it. The next item is off-airport easement acquisition for the runway 9 approach. And that involves getting easements for these obstructions that are in the approach.
Yes. Some easements we already have, some we need.
And that's just to have the ability to remove these obstructions from the approach of this runway so that planes can operate safely. Yes. Not always, but in this case.
Keep
The trees along the riverbank, they're very tall. So the goal is to take care of those. Questions on that?
Is there a vegetation or something out there that inhibits birds and stuff being in the area? I mean, there's something, we have a geese problem around here or whatever.
There are recommendations as part of the wildlife report that specifies, help me out here folks, the recommendation.
Yeah.
I think the majority of your bird problems are within, along the runways, right? I don't know if you have any issues out coming off of the river, but I think most of your problems are because you have so many wetlands around your airport. I mean, it's a prime habitat for waterfowl.
Okay.
Next project we have is the construction of the runway rehabilitation, which the design will be this year. Just a continuation of that project as we go ahead. I don't know if Kelly has a feel for this, but due to the amount of that project is looking to be about 2 point, or maybe a chance that the ADO phases it. So it may turn into a phase 1 construction and phase 2 construction just due to the value of the project. So that may shift a portion of that project down, depending on what they have available. Which we can do. You can do half the runway and tie it in. And
Well, if we went up 3 inches here, and we're down here, someone's going to take a big bump there.
you can make a nice smooth. Don't even feel it. Won't feel.
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure that out. That's no problem. You've done that before. Anything with that's pretty straightforward. Piggybacks on the design of that project. Next is the environmental assessment for the crosswind runway, which has been on your plan for quite some time.
Let's talk about that one. This is a requirement that we maintain this on plan in an outline here, correct? It's a recommendation.
On the ALP, correct?
Over 90% of all weather conditions, all flights can access our existing runway. given the cost and order of magnitude, as something that we'll need to have a discussion as a board in this year and in next year about what we want to do. Do we want to continue to roll it over to outline years that have, or is this something that we want to focus on and start the engineering that needs to be done? It's not a cheap process by any means, as you can see from the dollar.
What will that runway be?
It basically has the same 2,600 feet. It has essentially the same parameters, the same limitations that the existing runway does. You're at a different angle, but you're still penned in by 868.
And we have an east-west wind here. So.
Right.
How long could that runway be if you ever had to? I mean, how much land do we have?
What would be the maximum there on the
land-wise? I mean, you could go further, but the other, what might be a major issue is the amount of wetlands that you have here. And we'd also have to acquire this parcel to even go forward with the...
But the length of the blue line there represents 2,600.
So you could maybe get a...
We maybe get 4,000, 5,000.
You may be able to get about another 1,000 feet, 1,500 with all the safety areas and all that.
Backup, that's all, right? To use it?
More capacity.
Additional capacity, but again, it comes down to, it comes down to cost benefit. The cost is X, the benefit is do we want something.
The master plan will probably readdress that and see if that's still a...
I don't much happen in small airports.
You never know. There could be something, as Doug pointed out, there could be something that comes out of the master plan.
Yeah, all right.
Or you don't need this based on your trend or your needs. Push it down your list.
No.
And then this is another infrastructure improvements. This is another Bond Act project, so it would all be contingent on that program being active and us submitting applications and being approved. But this project is really to bring in the infrastructure, sewer, water, power, down to along 812 to give you the ability to develop this as a general aviation, the general aviation side of your airport. So you could FBOs, hangars, additional hangars, and things of that nature.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
And it's bringing those facilities all the way down from the city. That's what that one's all about.
Questions? No?
Next, it's another state project, the 10-bay T-hanger. Another set of T-hangers parallel to the ones that you already have on the south side of the runway. This is, again, state-funded project to give you additional general aviation capacity. T-hangers are usually pretty desirable. You can always add on to them, but they are expensive, and it's tough to. You could apply for more, but you would have to show a justification and need, and back up that you have a waiting list and things of that nature. But you can always add on to Ts. Typically, when we build Ts, a lot of times we do 5 Ts, when we have funding, and then we do 5 additional when we have more funding. Just marry them up like that. So, just looking at this, we could do another set of 10 parallel to it. So I think you have a lot of room down here to work. It's just barring the crosswind. So, like, permanently sell the space, or sell it to another company to manage, or typically it's all lease. It's typically a lease as far as I've ever seen.
You see,
Additional security.
Never seen those, like Quonset hut type. Not familiar. Inexpensive, probably. And then you may notice, as we go to 2013, we also have a T-hanger taxi lane and apron project. The reason that this is on there is because the FAA, well, the state won't, it's a chicken and an egg scenario again as well. The state won't fund T-hangers, or no, the FAA won't fund the payment unless there's an assurance that the T-hangers are going to be built. So that's why that is sequenced like that, right?
Yeah. I don't know where.
Then getting into 2013, we have a snowblower. The snowblower is in a similar situation as the ARF truck, but due to the priorities that the FAA set for, the ARF truck will be first placed, even though your snow equipment is actually in a lot rougher shape, fortunately, but just the way they prioritize, the ARF truck is more important to them. So, that's 2013. Then we get to the obstruction removal for this area for the 9 approach that we've gotten analysis for in 2011, easements in 2012, and as we get into 13, we'll actually get into taking care of those obstructions to the approach. Planes can land safe.
Question.
Okay.
Looking at this plan, is the FAA making this plan for us, saying this is what we need to do and how to do it, or do we have input in this way to, or does it work both ways?
Combination of what's recommended and what the engineering folks feel that.
Okay, so it's a joint effort.
We have exercised our option at different points to move things around. For example, I'm thinking back to the transient hangar. In the past, we moved that out a couple of years because that project was one of the 90%, 10% funded, where we picked up the 10%. Well, the 10% on that one happened to be a fairly significant dollar amount. That was $67,000 that we're picking out. So that project we moved out. I'm trying to think of an example of a project we moved up. We do move them around, I guess.
Do they come here at all?
The FAA?
Yeah. Do they come here? I mean, do they have a representative come here and visit with us and talk to us? Yeah.
Not in regard.
Okay, we go to the... Yeah, that's a point.
They don't get out very often.
It sounds like that's very important, especially once the master plan is updated, because again, we get on their priority. Thank you.
All right. Again, the airport obstruction we talked about, the T-hangers, taxi lanes and aprons, that's just to get you the access to the Ts that are mentioned in 2012. And then the remainder of the projects all are in relation to the crossing, which we'll see what the master plan has to say in regards to that.
So the relationship between the T-hangers in 2012 and the pavement in 2013, there would have to be some kind of temporary roadway built from or temporary taxiway from the T-hangers to the existing pavement, correct? That accounted for, again, here's why I ask. We have built the T-hanger. Is that what you're thinking? Well, we ran into a situation back when we built the transient hangar where we built the building, and then the pavement expansion came later, where there was a period where we had some binding, and it was significant cost, but it wasn't cheap either. That wasn't funded. I forget the exact mechanism how we got that funded, but anyway, my question is, when I look at this, I see the T-hangers being built in 2012 without the pavement, and then the pavement comes in 2013. They don't want to have the T-hangers down there open for a full year.
There's not enough to accommodate that.
Are you thinking ways to connect these with
No, I'm just asking what type of pavement is there to tie in the T-hangers that are being built in 2012, to tie it into the existing apron, so that way you don't have a fully built out there that can be rented out, but we can't rent it because there's no way for the planes to get from the hangar to the apron. Okay.
Second.
Okay, so the timing should align. We don't necessarily get
By in 2012.
Literally, whatever you want to call the other runways, do you build half of that?
Oh, no. No, I was talking about just the connection from the new T-hanger to the existing apron. There'd have to be some kind of temporary connection there. Right now, there's just
Well, I was saying, okay, instead of just have some temporary item cost would be tear it up or whatever you're going to do, so why would you supply the money to else?
Gotcha.
That they won't allow you to even show that on the CIP of the T-hangers and above it.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we're not stuck with a building that we can't. Well, thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions at all regarding the plan or anything at all in regards to the airport? Or have we spent too much time here? and board you.
That we're not at all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
This is just the grant summary. Copy five.
Go that way. Oh, Mr. Carter's here.
Study meeting in the next board. We will look at this. Thank you for coming up today.
I'd like to thank Mr. Carter for letting me occupy his chair for a little bit. No, Mr. Carter, we like your attendance up here in the front because I was really ahead of myself in the last meeting. I moved so fast, I was like, yeah, I got ways to go to LSU. I had to walk in big shoes because I didn't have big shoes. I thought you were all done. No, we all down here. So we just, okay. So what, you can wrap it right up. We can do whatever we need to do. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, I thought we were going to go there for a while, but Judge shut us down. Yeah? Oh, for the weather? Yeah. She had to do another little 10-minute side thing. And our expert witness was 3 hours. So she'd have been right in the middle of that. No schedule, so they said, in which I agreed. I thought it was a smart move. Is that cool now? Okay. Let the record show that I arrived at 4 o'clock, and
It's a normal time to start, isn't it?
so where are we saying right now? We're at letters of communications. Do we have any letters of communications?
Yes, there are, Mr. Chairman. This is to the Bridge and Authority Board from Pat Hill. I'll pass the card around so you may see it. Also in your board lead file are the 9 months statements for December 31, 2010 and 2009.
Nice.
There's an issue regarding Great Lakes, New York ballast water regulations that's in there. Thank you, Ogdensburg Garden Club, the best of the Board of Directors.
Okay.
And news articles for this road.
Anything else?
No.
You want to talk on?
No.
Okay. Any questions on it? Anybody from the board? Dad?
Couple items of audience. No, just those couple of items I'd like to report there, but
Okay.
and they're self-explanatory.
Okay. I guess we got approval of the board minutes. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Okay. Motion's in order? Okay, Don Hooper, second. Minutes.
Yeah, I thought it was important to me, just,
Second amendment. Seconded by Steve. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? It's ordered.
yeah, I got you all over them.
Are you ready?
People, I couldn't control them.
Okay, so that was for January 19th minutes. I did receive the rest of the minutes. Two? Okay. Okay. Okay, I guess it's comments and presentations from citizens regarding agenda items. Anybody? Press got any questions? Okay. Move to the staff's executive director's report. that it? Yep. Yes, a couple items I'd like to highlight regarding period, a very busy period. Main span rehabilitation project is continuing on a reduced winter schedule. Got pending status requests of $3.76 million out there right now. We're waiting for reimbursement from DOT. We continue to pursue alternatives for the $95 million project. There are some implications and monetary penalties coming forth from the Canadians under the Canadian International Bridges and Tunnels Act. I've discussed that with Canadian Council and would be able to brief the board in a future session on that. The New York State Administrative Services assessment was paid while preserving the authority's rights to continue to seek the hardship exemption. The border station concern is still unresolved. Met with the city manager for the Revitalize Ogdensburg campaign. The Section 107 study at the port is continuing. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is still expecting results within the March to April timeframe, so we should have an answer there. As you're aware, we completed the transaction on Building 11 and Building 1 with San Mina, which is formerly Breckenridge. Met with the Patterson Street rebuild project folks. Requested a formal meeting with the New York and Ogdensburg Railway regarding the locomotive status report that I mentioned last time. I've interfaced several times during the month with Cape Air's schedule changes to Boston via Albany. A couple of finance-related things I'd like to highlight. The Finance Department is continuing to perform exceptionally well. I'd like to compliment them on that. We've met with the New York State Deferred Compensation Plan regarding mandatory past due changes. Developed a path forward there, and based on that discussion, I recommend reestablishing the authority's Deferred Compensation Committee, which was the authority's Personnel Committee plus 2 Deferred Compensation Committee representatives from here in the authority. We have an AR accounts receivable aging issue, one of which is resolved, the other I need to I have mentioned that to the Finance Committee. The lease master agreement was revised in conjunction with staff, specifically John. Nice job on that, by the way. And over the next 30, 60, 90 days, continue to look at how the legal case of the last couple of days, St. Lawrence Factory Stores, plays out. We'll have an update for the board at the next meeting. Continue wearing at least 2 hats here at the authority for the time being. And I really need to sit down with the board in the near future and develop the OBPA's recommended strategy. I'd like to update that. The one we have is about 4 years old. Not going to be a quick, simple, or easy process, but we'll get through it. Be happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Reed, as I read this thing and all the things that are going on, the double roles that's going on there, but I want to thank staff for what they're doing to keep things rolling, and because we just can't stay still here over. The one that I thought was a key thing for me was meeting with the city manager and trying to see how we can make sense of this economy and what we can do for economic development. And I want to thank you for reaching out and with Mr. Shore and, whatever. And so we're going to have a large meeting with key stakeholders. I'd like to move that in an effective way, efficient way if possible, and let us know what's going on and how we can help in that. So we'll do that. That will continue to stay on it. A few things I noticed, just as a brief addendum for here. There was no mention in this report, St. Lawrence Factory Stores case, that again for the last 3 days. Nor was there mention of another item I'm working on, which is prep fee for our toll system. We have some significant issues with our toll system. We need to make some choices there. And I'm in the process of getting that put together. We've got some samples we're working with presently, and should have that here in the near future.
One of the things I'd like to see right on the toll booth, I'd like to see something from the employees that's working there and do a punch list on their complaints, since they've already been in there long enough now to give us some ideas of things that ain't right. And I know a couple things already, but I'd like to get something from them and see if we can correct those problems, like the doors.
We have actually done that, and Steve, would you like to comment on that? Meeting we had with
For the doors, how are you going to adjust them windows? Want you to get new ones or modify them or what? Yes. Is that a DOT design? Get them to modify them doors? Yes. Well, I look at the security part of it, and I was down there, and I just looked it over, and I don't like the idea they got to open the door and all that kind of stuff with all the weirdos and things going on. You never know what's going to happen. Once people find out how your operation opens, you know, you never know what they're going to do. And there's sometimes a person, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's good as long as you're... No, you're on it, that's all that matters.
And those items we have followed up with the engineering firm and let them know for future projects. I mean, not that we're going to relocate to Toblis anytime soon, but again, it's appropriate to provide them with feedback, and that has been done. It's not all great and wonderful stuff here. There are a couple things I am behind in. One is starting to be very concerning for me, and that's the CSEA negotiations. Those need to get started here shortly, and that involves Frank and I sitting down, doing up some draft language, and then making a proposal to CSEA. I mean, we're still fine. The contract doesn't expire until the end of the year, but we've given them a commitment that we'd like to move forward with negotiations, and really, it just hasn't been enough time in the day. There's a couple other projects that fit on that same list. The railroad locomotive being one of them. The negotiations, as I mentioned, with CSEA, but some things are starting to slip a little bit. I'll put it that way.
Well, any assistance the board can give you, just let us know. On the railroad thing, we're supposed to have a joint meeting with them, right?
Yes.
I mean, the last time I knew there was
We have
going to be set up.
We have requested the meeting. They have not responded yet as to a date. The quotations for the new for the used locomotives are back. They were much cheaper than expected. Anywhere from, I think the low was $150,000 and the high was $278,000. Good news is it's a good time to buy an engine if we choose to do that, because what's happened is the stimulus money has replaced a lot of the mainline engines, and then those engines have moved to the secondary, the used market. So it's something that would have cost us $500,000 and up, you can now pick up for less than $300,000.
Yeah, I might one off the rail over there in Canton. We can pick up with it. That's what I think that meeting is going to bring all of that out. And as soon as we get a date, what I would suggest that you and Frank do is to send them a letter, tell them these are the available dates, and tell them to notify us what date they're going to be there. I mean, we're not going to go on their schedule; they're going to go on our schedule.
We can do that.
That's the best way to do business with them. And if they don't show up at the meeting, then we'll just do what we have to do, and we'll head that way down. That's
I don't recall right offhand. I want to say 5. I think it ties back tonight based on the model.
Now, the New York State service agreement that we sent, the assessment,
Yes,
that has been sent.
that has been sent. Yes,
The letter.
with a letter of
No,
payment under protest. I guess, for lack of a better term.
I understand that that's not going to be in next year's budget. It's been waived by Governor Cuomo. Is that true?
That's what I understand. I have not seen anything
in the budget
to verify that yet, but I have not seen it specifically, Fred.
Did you talk to?
No, that's one of those items I have not had a chance to follow up with.
Because I know the IDAs are not going to have to do that next year. And I think if they're not going to have to do it, why should we have to do it? I'm being told we don't have to. So 2011. But I said, what about 10, 9, and 10? They said, send the checks. So
we'll look at it, investigate it.
okay.
I'll get back to you on that.
CSEA contract negotiations. Frank and you are going to handle that, right? Have you got their proposals?
No, wait.
Okay. Anything else, Blaze report? Any questions by the board members? Questions from staff? Okay. Director of Communication Industrial Development, Mr. Lee. Please.
Well, if there are any comments, if you could give me any comments by the end of the week on those, any comments or suggested changes. If not, like, stay on schedule. I would just add that this is not binding as well. We reserve the right to accept or reject any or all proposals.
And, I go to a lot of ports, take cruises and stuff like that, and they coordinate, container business. I'm trying to think of the company, Mazurek, or what's the big company? What do you call it? Yeah, is that how you pronounce it? But anyways, they have all these cranes, and they stockpile these containers, whatever, and they take them off the boat, slide them over, and the truck pulls up, flatbed, done what I want to be. Do we have any, is that a goal eventually at some time? Is that our vision to do? I mean, if we had a business for it? Right, I know that's, yeah. The ship them themselves, they have a container to lift. What would your vision be for us to do? I mean,
I also think it's highly likely that at some point in the future we will be dealing with, in some fashion, Great Lakes feeder line. And I would ask that between now and the next board meeting, John, if you could put together just a one-page summary of what Great Lakes is, let's put it out and brief the board. much, I would say, not only the only game in town, but they have their own equipment, their specialized equipment, and it's a pretty good match. I think it's appropriate we learn more.
My other comment too, John, is I thank you for reaching out into the Montreal market. Somewhere along the line, there's an overflow. He needs help, whatever it might be, there's a problem, whatever, and maybe we're a solution for somebody. And I like your thinking to get involved in doing that. So. Yeah. So what's the red tape factor with the United States dealing with us being a port and going in? Is there any red tape that we're running against that you see that we need to deal with?
Good. Any other questions of John? Look up. I was very impressed with your work that you do. Now the RFPs here, you say you're waiting for the board to...
The RFPs went out electronically. They have a hard copy sitting in the mail. Those went out last Friday.
So where are they out then?
No, they were circulated to the board for comment. Legal review last...
Will the facility committee approval?
No, typically for RFPs, we don't require committee or board approval.
Right.
But given this is a new area, I felt it appropriate to send it out to for comment.
Oh, okay. So, all right, no problem. All right. All right, so... There's no questions of John. We'll move right to any financial reports or anything.
Yes, the financial reports are in your packet.
I want to come back to them.
Financial reports.
I should have shot him in there before.
Thank you. Financial reports are in your packet, so three-page sheet here. This is for the 9 months ending December 31st, 2010. December 31st, 2009, as you can see by the two respective columns. Walking through at the high level, total revenue 9 months ending December 31st is $4.37 million. Total expenses for the period of $4.5 million, with a change in net assets before capital contributions of $148,000. Capital contributions of $7.7 million, resulting in the change in net assets after capital contributions of $0.56 million. You can see on the next page how that compared to budget. So again, looking at a high level on the revenue line, the revenue was $4.37 million compared to a budget of $4.14 million, a difference of $228,000. On the expense line, we had $4.5 million in expense for the budget of $4.5 million. That's the flat. The change in net assets, you can see there before you. Capital contributions, again, $7.7 million, resulting in change in net assets after capital contributions of $7.56 million. Third page in your packet is the recap of cash and investments for the authority. You can see there are various accounts. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on any of these items.
Questions? What are the things on the investment part? The way the market's going right now is, do we have CDs and stuff like that, right? In the banks, do we have anything like that?
Yes, they're outlined. Deborah?
We have, the only thing we have is the money market account at mortgage. Currently, they're offering
Okay.
but that was established several years ago. And currently, the only invest.
So we're all right there. 14%.
Our yields are not great by any means.
That's when everybody gets together. They don't get much. The thing are in checkbooks. Would you already get larger amount in our
Any questions on that?
Well, there is one thing I'd just like to point out that we haven't discussed previously. Down at the bottom of page 3 is the recap by financial institution. It's a good recap there. It shows the worth of how much. Just for your information there.
Okay. Any other questions? Being none? You're up. You want to go sit on the legs? Give me a slide over there. Daddy didn't want you to get missed. Steve, how many people is American Bridge got employed right now? And where are they going to park their vehicles, these people? These 25, 30 people are going to work. They're going to be able to put everything in that laid-down yard. They're not going to have a designated area for vehicles. I mean, I don't know how we're going to put 25, 30 people through this terrible situation. Put them up in the lay-down area where they're putting in materials and stuff like that. I mean, I don't see that area having the capacity to put all these people in and out of there. And I think there's an issue with me like that. I think that you should revisit that, and I think we should have a parking lot designated for construction work, and they should get from that up there. I don't think they should be allowed just to have the runs of the whole facility like this. Well, I just like to have you look into how we're going to do this, because you got 20, 25 cars, we don't know who's going through the toll booth. Our people are going to try to do their job, but that's quite a route. And then that parking lot up there, for safety reasons and stuff, and stuff moving back and forth. And I don't think, immigration or customs, I mean, we better make sure this thing is tight. Because there's going to be a lot of movement on that bridge with stuff. And I don't know how it problems. So, I mean, you've worked at this, and you know what all Coles were, and the Reynolds, and General Motors was. There was a designated parking lot for those people. And I don't think that, you put 25, 30 cars up there in that laydown area,
Takes up a lot of space.
yeah, it's going to get a little tight, and they'll put it in, then there's going to be stuff moving back and forth across that bridge. I don't want to get in any trouble. Okay. So, I'd like to have you look into that.
On that same note, I asked for an audit of from the engineer via the bridge company on the number of jobs that were created versus the number of jobs they thought they would create on this project so far. I'd just like to share that with you. You'll get this, again, you'll see this in a more formalized report the next time GPI is here on site. But American Bridge has generated 20 jobs, O'Connell Electric 10, Cardone & Sons 12, Sayspan 10, 6 for Sam & Son, Rommel Fence 4, LB Foster Construction 30, LB Foster Precise 30, Dye Highway 75, American Bridge Manufacturing 61, Owensby and Gerner 5, a total of 264 under that portion. And for engineers, GPI has 2 office engineers, 2 field inspectors, and 3 shop inspectors. Hot off the
That doesn't count the people to make the material.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so there's a...
Well, LB Foster is the deck manufacturer, so yes, it would.
Down in New Jersey and other places.
We don't have a deck, though. The question I was thinking the other day, we're going to replace that deck, and it's not... how do we paint that? What are we going to do to paint it?
It's all done.
It's galvanized at this point in time? Right. Both are galvanized, stainless steel. And then if we finish the rest, then it'll all be painted to. Okay. And I was wondering about how that would be if replace the deck, whatever. So it's not going to lose any life expectancy being, I guess we'll call it raw form, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, the path of this material is manufactured in Mass and Pennsylvania. It goes to New Jersey, I think. Goes to the laydown yard, and then the laydown yard to the bridge.
Okay, is there any other questions? Steve's report? I read along, and I think I'm right down into these are reports.
Oh, go ahead. Finance? Yeah, first.
Facilities Committee?
We had a couple of issues, but I think we're going to put them off to the next meeting, correct, Pete?
For the Facilities Committee, did not meet. There were no.
No. Okay.
The only thing that there was the ACIP review by CNS.
Okay, that's what it was.
And that you'll see before the Facilities Committee next month, and then ultimately the board for adoption.
Mr. Carter, we do have a personnel report, basically, and just to, obviously, we're in the process of trying to fill our CFO position, and we're in the process now is to finalize the application process and set up dates for interviews. The tentative date that we have, I have to go through folks here to interview on March 1st. And then we realized that we want to add one more person to the to one of the add from 5 to 6, and then we'd like to do is to meet on the 28th. We felt that the length of time for one day for 6 applicants was way too long, so we'd like to meet with 3 in one day and 3 in the next, and that would be in the morning and just part of the afternoon. So that would be on the 28th. We meet at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 28th and 8 o'clock in the morning on March 1st. So I guess we have to finalize if, so that way we can have a report exactly in the process on the March 2nd meeting. So,
What's the days of the week of is that?
28th is a Monday and March 1st is a Tuesday, and then we have a meeting on March 2nd, obviously, it's Wednesday. So,
The rest of the board okay with that? Don? I guess we got it then.
Okay, so we'll get the specifics on the location out to you. And again, just in the interest of reporting here, because we do have a report camera on, this will not be a meeting that is open to the public because personnel interviews.
Okay. Fine. Any other committee reports, unfinished business,
No unfinished business.
events and activities?
I would just like to point out that the schedule that you have in front of you is the correct schedule of dates. There was an issue that the one that got out of here earlier in the month had the incorrect dates, but these are the dates that reflect Wednesdays, as we previously discussed.
check.
Give us a report on that next meeting. So, November will be the 9th.
That's a good change, right?
Okay, business items.
Very light agenda for this evening. I'm sure you're disappointed to hear that. The first item is approval of supplement with, this is for, it's on page 9 of your packet. It is facing the Bridge Administration Building for the current lease expiring with Mr. Connell, February 28, 2011, 207 square feet at the rates, terms, and conditions you see before you.
Any questions? Motion in order to accept. Dave? Ramona? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
And the main two is approval of lease agreement, Carol Griffith, Harold Lambert, facing the Bridge Administration Building, expiring February 28, 2011, 182 square feet at the rates, terms, conditions that you see in the resolution.
Any questions on this resolution?
I think I asked this question before, but the lease rate of $250, is that reviewed each year? How we do that, or is it just?
Probably should be. It isn't, but it should be. So I will do that happen.
Okay. I mean, not to say that it's an unfair rate or, undercharge or overcharge, whatever, not to say that, but I mean, just to, review that. I think you answered that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Sam? Do we have a second? Second by Don. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So ordered.
The next item, B1, you'll recognize, or you should recognize, having been on the board for a little bit. This is American Canadian Caribbean Line. They're now Long Small Ship Adventures. They're asking permission to dock at the Port of Ogdensburg for the 2011 season, and the conditions are with 24 hours notice, we'll charge the company a dockage fee of $200.
What do we do for them?
David, would you like to answer that?
Either they have their own platform to come ashore. We used to get names in here or whatever.
We have reached out to them. We've not contacted them. The other interesting thing is, as security procedures have now changed, one of the things that we'll investigate is, can we have a ship in port and have tours like we used to have?
Yeah, we used to have
Yes, we're going to do.
Now, will we provide a free service if they came ashore, or we would? I don't know. I'm just. Yeah. I think it's interesting to have that happen again. I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it'd be good to investigate, see what obviously the economic concerns will be, whether they help us as a board, whatever, I don't know.
There is truth in. There has never been, with vessels, and I don't know why, and I apologize, I don't have information. We have not required insurance for the vessel itself for coming in. Again, I'm thinking back to one of our resolutions that proof of appropriate insurance required. You've heard that statement over and over. It is in our handling agreements. It's in our lease agreements. It has never been in the American, Canadian, Caribbean line, nor any other vessel that we have looked at in the files. So, again, not sure why, but for some reason, that's being treated differently.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion in order to approve? Make the motion. Ma'am? Second? Steve? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Okay, agenda item B2 we're agenda tonight because this is not ready. I do want to mention, however, the reason that this is not ready, New York State Controller's Office has not approved our contract yet between Bridge and Port Authority and New York State DOT. What this means is we're hoping to get that approval completed, because as soon as we do, then we can have the agreement with the engineers to do the final design. Difference between this board meeting and the next board meeting is 2 weeks, not an insurmountable time lost here. This is for these areas that we need to be concerned about going forward.
Do you want to put it on hold?
If it doesn't make the March meeting, we've got an issue.
Okay.
This is approval of debt payoff for the 11th Industrial Building. You'll recall that we had approximately $600,000 in principal on the 11th building. This would pay off the debt on Building 11 with the proceeds that we just received from San Miguel Corporation as a result of the sale of Building 1 to the authority and the termination of the lease agreement on Building 11. It's recommended that we pay off our creditors here, the community bank, St. Louis County IDA, at the rates and amounts that you see before you. I would note that the payoff buyout amount is scheduled for February 28th, and every day that we can accelerate that, we say. Thank you, Debbie.
So this is all the money that we've received then from the...
Yes, we received
586,000.
Right, plus the security deposit, 49,000. Yes.
No, was that, that's 632, right?
635.
35.
We came out ahead, slightly.
But what I'd like to ask is, how much money have we got to put into those buildings? If we pay this money all back to the IDA, then we got to go borrow money to fix the buildings up.
Not necessarily. We're sitting on quite a large sum of reserves. We could pull it out of reserves. In addition, in my opinion, this is a prudent investment because rather than have speaking in round terms, rather than have the $635,000 sitting in an account earning 0% interest, we could turn around and apply it here and make effectively the interest rates that you see before you.
Really, an interest rate though of 3.85. I kind of like that. It leaves us $410,000 to put into the buildings at a nice rate. Pay the other two off and keep that 3.85 25 and use that money to do whatever we gotta do to the buildings. I thought there was work that we had to do.
There is work that needs to be done to the buildings. However, we could take that out of one of our other accounts that's earning 0% interest.
And I might debate it with you. Motion in order to pass the resolution. Debate with a 6% interest on. Right.
They will see it whether we pay it off or whether it sits in our...
But I remember talking about when we talked about doing this here thing that we were going to get money for this, that we're going to look at what to put into the buildings. You know, I don't have any problem paying off the two bank and the next one. But yet, I don't want to turn around and pay it off, then we reach in somewhere else to grab the money. When you got an interest rate of 3.85, I mean, come on. Yes, go ahead and say something.
Certainly.
We have used from our very too rich, not going to happen. Before we get a reimbursement, we got the next.
I've got it home.
I've been working on that.
11/19/44. May 2nd, 1947. May 2nd, 1947.
I need your passport.
That was $24,000 a month in rent.
I haven't looked at
Home payments.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do.
That way we lost the 24,000.
Just about away from
Security. And income. We used to cover.
Thank you.
Well, that was my feelings on this resolution. I didn't want to pass the resolution when we might need $300,000 put into that building, and I just feel the IDA is give us a loan at 3.85. Why not pay off the two top ones and wait on the other one until we see what monies we have to put into that? And then if it says $150,000, the remainder, give it to the IDA. At least make sure these buildings are ready to roll. You can market them. We don't know that.
We don't have covered the loan payment.
Well, it would hurt us in the fact that, again, it would put a further constraint on cash, and that's one of the reasons that I'm advocating that we consider this, because we have money that's sitting in one account earning zero, versus if let's use the IDA strictly as an example, we could put $12,000 of that and earn the equivalent of 3.875% interest.
Okay.
I know we have money in our upcoming, our fiscal year is about to change here as of April 1. We do have dollars in our capital plan for the upgrade of that building. The number escapes me at the moment what that was. I want to say it is a sizable number, but I don't recall. I want to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $120,000, but that was in our capital plan for our next fiscal year.
Let me ask this question. What is the loan price right now if you want to go get a loan for $100,000?
Expensive.
4%, 5%, 6%? I don't know.
Debbie, what got me on our...
If you're residential, I can bet you the commercial ones are higher.
Well, I don't know what percentage is above the prime. I guess that's what I was thinking.
Primes? So, you probably got an excellent, you're going to get at least half. I mean, we got to make some money on it.
Yeah. Right, yeah. Why don't I go with... Let me think about this a second. We're going to go... Let's just throw food for thought. We're going to go get a steam-in. Or we're going to get a locomotive. All right, well, what's that going to be? What's the loan going to be for that? Yeah, so I'm saying is, I don't know.
I can buy that and find a grant or partial funded through. But
Okay, but I'm just saying is, somewhere I think you need to rethink what Steve's saying, exactly how to move this money.
Well, what I'd like to do, Alex, for get by it here, I'd like to just change the resolution to pay off the community bank and the St. Lawrence IDA 5%, and at the present time we'll table the 3.8. So we'll change the resolution to pay the two top ones off. 2 weeks we'll look, see where we're at. Okay. Okay.
So Don, you seconded that?
Don seconded, Steve made it. Two weeks you can have that back to us, right?
well, we can revisit the placeholder read through the capital plan. We can make...
You renovate them not knowing who's coming?
No.
Is that... That's what you do. What? Oh, you must know who to recruit and what they're going to need. I mean, that's in your mindset, isn't it, for what the plans are going to be? I mean, what type of person's going to come there, whether it's a small manufacturer, what are we going to do? So. Yeah. Good, yeah, okay, that's good.
Okay, the motion has been made by Steve and Don. I would also make to amend the motion to pay the community bank St. Lawrence IDA with the 5%, which is $89,787, and to pull the paying off the IDA 3.85 loan, which is $410,000. Right? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. You got that.
Should do. Well, that was next recommendation. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to refer this to the Finance Committee for consideration. Have a Finance Committee meet on it and bring that.
That's fine.
To the full board next time.
That's fine. I don't have a problem paying this thing off. No, if we need to put some money in there, $100,000, $150,000, we already have the money to do it with. So then the remainder you can put on the principal of the IDA loan. So that's going to bring us down.
You said there, Steve said, I'm sure you have your trying to borrow.
Just to round out that conversation before we move on to the next matter, thank you, Debbie, or Mrs. Abel, for bringing the bridge rehab figure in at 3.25%.
Oh. Okay, we need to make a motion on this credit card authorization.
Yes, there is one thing for item D1. This is a credit card authorization for Bank of America. This is a requirement of Bank of America that we authorize contact persons. Presently, we have none. So based on that, recommending that as executive director, Debbie Abel as assistant accountant, appointed as authorized contact person.
Motion order. Second. Thank you, gentlemen. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Have a good time talking to them people. They're just wonderful. Hey, I think that wraps it up, right? Motion to adjourn? Dan made it, Don seconded it. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All others are out of order. I got somebody who will put you in. I was moving faster than him, though. I was going faster than him.
Way faster. The rate.
What were you up to?